There's something most people don't realize about aging. It's not just about how long you've been alive, but how well your body is functioning. Science now distinguishes between your chronological age and your biological age, and the two can be very different. You might be 55 on paper, but biologically, your cells could be functioning like those of someone decades younger or older. The key difference? It's not just genetics, it's what you do every single day. Your habits, how you move, how you sleep, what you eat, how you handle stress, directly impact your cellular health, brain function, hormone levels, and even your immune system. A groundbreaking study from UCLA in 2019 showed that a specific combination of growth hormone, metformin, and lifestyle interventions reversed biological age by more than 2.5 years in just 12 months. But here's the encouraging part. The most powerful anti-aging effects came not from drugs, but from behavior. That's because aging isn't a single event. It's the gradual breakdown of multiple systems in the body. When you understand what those systems are and how to support them, you can begin to slow the biological clock naturally. In today's video, we're going to cover 6 of the most important levers for slowing down aging. First, we'll explore how to protect the brain as we age, keeping memory, focus, and emotional balance strong using simple but science-backed tools. Second, we'll look at why muscle mass is about much more than strength and how it plays a key role in metabolism, insulin sensitivity, and longevity. Third, we'll examine how to support mitochondrial function, those tiny engines in your cells, through things like fasting, movement, and even cold exposure. Fourth, we'll cover how to reduce chronic inflammation and support hormonal balance, 2 major drivers of accelerated aging. Fifth, we'll talk about metabolic health, including blood sugar regulation, body composition, and how your daily eating habits affect cellular aging. And sixth, we'll break down the science of quality sleep, because the right kind of rest is essential for cellular repair, brain clarity, and emotional resilience. Each of these areas can be improved with targeted, practical habits. And by the end, you'll walk away with a real, science-based plan to stay sharper, stronger, and younger, no matter your age. Let's start with the brain, because when it comes to aging, cognitive decline is one of the changes people fear the most, and with good reason. Your brain controls everything, from decision-making to emotional regulation, and even your ability to learn, adapt, and stay socially connected. The exciting part is that the brain is far more adaptable than we used to believe. This concept is called neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change its structure and function in response to how you live. In other words, your habits either support brain regeneration or accelerate cognitive aging. So, what happens in the brain as we get older? A few key things. First, there's a gradual reduction in the number of synapses. These are the connections between neurons that help you process, recall, and integrate information. Second, levels of key neurotransmitters like dopamine and acetylcholine start to decline, which affects focus, memory, and mood. Third, there is increased vulnerability to inflammation and oxidative stress in brain tissue, which can damage neurons and impair signaling. The good news is these effects are not fixed. They are influenced by lifestyle, especially how you move, what you eat, how you sleep, and how often you challenge your brain. Let me give you an example. A study published in Frontiers in Aging Neuroscience found that older adults who engaged in just 45 minutes of brisk walking 3 times per week experienced increased volume in the hippocampus, the part of the brain involved in memory and learning. That means simply walking regularly can grow part of your brain. Other research shows that resistance training, lifting weights, or even using your own body weight can improve executive function and slow cognitive decline, likely through the release of brain derivative neurotrophic factor, or BDNF. Think of BDNF as brain fertilizer. It supports the survival and growth of neurons. Sleep also plays a massive role. During deep sleep, your brain performs a type of cleaning cycle through the lymphatic system, flushing out waste products that build up during the day. If you are not getting enough restorative sleep, these toxins accumulate and impair brain function over time. Aiming for 7 to 9 hours of quality sleep, where you cycle through all stages, including deep and rapid eye movement sleep, is not just good for energy, it is essential for memory, decision-making, and emotional regulation. Now, let's talk about nutrition. Certain nutrients directly support neuroplasticity. Omega-3 fatty acids, especially from wild-caught fish like salmon or sardines, are critical for maintaining the integrity of brain cell membranes. Curcumin, the active compound in turmeric, has been shown to reduce brain inflammation and support memory. Magnesium, especially in the form of magnesium threonate, may help enhance learning and synaptic plasticity by increasing magnesium levels inside the brain. What about mental stimulation? That matters too. Learning a new skill, speaking a second language, playing a musical instrument. These are not just hobbies. They are powerful brain training protocols. They challenge existing pathways and force the brain to adapt. Even activities like puzzles, memory games, or strategic board games have been shown to improve cognitive reserve, which is the brain's ability to tolerate age changes without losing function. So, what can you do right now to support your brain? First, move your body regularly. Walking, lifting, and balancing exercises all help. Second, prioritize sleep. Create a cool, dark, quiet sleep environment and keep a consistent bedtime. Third, include foods rich in omega-3, antioxidants, and magnesium. Fourth, challenge your brain, not just by working hard, but by learning something new. And lastly, reduce chronic stress because prolonged high cortisol levels actually shrink brain structures like the hippocampus. Meditation, deep breathing, or even spending time in nature can help normalize cortisol and support cognitive health. If this insight is helping you, consider subscribing. We are going to keep unpacking how your body and brain work and how you can take control of your health with science-backed tools. Most people think of muscle as something purely aesthetic or only important for athletes, but when it comes to slowing biological aging, maintaining and building muscle is one of the most powerful things you can do for your overall health. Muscle is not just tissue for movement, it is metabolically active, meaning it plays a direct role in regulating blood sugar, insulin sensitivity, hormone balance, and even immune function. As you age, your body naturally starts to lose muscle in a process called sarcopenia, which begins as early as your 30s if you are not actively countering it. And this is not just about losing strength. This muscle loss affects your metabolic rate, your ability to burn fat, your joint stability, and your risk of falls and injury. Research published in the Journal of Gerontology shows that low muscle mass is strongly linked to frailty, loss of independence, and even higher mortality risk. So building muscle is not just about fitness, it is about survival and quality of life. One of the most effective ways to stimulate muscle growth and maintain muscle mass is through resistance training. This can be lifting weights, using resistance bands, or even doing body weight movements like squats, push-ups, and lunges. You do not need to become a bodybuilder. Just working each major muscle group 2 to 3 times per week is enough to signal your body to build and preserve muscle tissue. And here is where it gets interesting. Muscle acts like a sponge for glucose, which means the more muscle you have, the better your body can regulate blood sugar levels. This reduces your risk for insulin resistance, prediabetes, and the inflammatory effects of high blood sugar that speed up aging. Plus, muscle tissue produces myokines, these are small signaling proteins released during exercise, that have anti-inflammatory, anti-aging effects throughout the body, including the brain and cardiovascular system. To support muscle growth, protein intake matters too. Most people, especially as they age, are not getting enough high-quality protein to stimulate muscle repair. Research suggests aiming for at least 1.5 to 2 grams of protein per kilogram of body weight, depending on your activity level and goals. Good sources include wild-caught fish, pasture-raised eggs, organic poultry, grass-fed beef, and plant-based options like lentils, hemp seeds, and quinoa. Timing also helps. Consuming protein within an hour after training can enhance muscle protein synthesis. And do not overlook the importance of recovery. Growth happens during rest, not during the workout itself. Prioritize deep, restorative sleep, and give your muscles time to rebuild before training the same group again. If this perspective is helpful for you, consider subscribing. This channel is about translating real science into tools you can use to stay strong, mobile, and youthful for life. When it comes to cellular aging, one of the most important systems to focus on is your mitochondria. These are the microscopic power plants inside your cells that generate the energy your body uses to function. Every movement, thought, heartbeat, and immune response depends on mitochondrial energy. But as we age, mitochondrial function declines, and this leads to fatigue, slower metabolism, poor recovery, brain fog, and increased vulnerability to disease. What is fascinating is that the decline is not entirely automatic. It is driven in large part by how you live. Mitochondria thrive on challenge. In other words, they become stronger and more efficient when they are stressed, but in the right way. One of the most effective ways to do this is through intermittent fasting. Research from the National Institute on Aging shows that going longer periods without food activates a process called mitochondrial biogenesis, which means your body starts producing new, healthier mitochondria. This process also triggers autophagy, which is your body's natural cleanup system that removes damaged cellular components, including dysfunctional mitochondria. Another key tool is physical movement. Both aerobic activities, like brisk walking or cycling, and anaerobic exercises, like resistance training or high-intensity intervals, improve mitochondrial function by increasing oxygen delivery, enhancing mitochondrial density, and activating key enzymes involved in energy production. Studies published in Cell Metabolism show that exercise can partially reverse age mitochondrial decline at the genetic level. Cold exposure is another science-backed strategy. Brief, controlled exposure to cold, such as cold showers or cold water immersion, stimulates the production of uncoupling proteins in your mitochondria, which increases energy expenditure and helps maintain healthy body weight and thermoregulation. These proteins also protect against oxidative stress, a major contributor to mitochondrial damage. Nutrition also plays a huge role. Certain nutrients directly support mitochondrial performance. Coenzyme Q10 is one example. It helps shuttle electrons in the mitochondria to produce adenosine triphosphate, which is your cell's energy currency. Alpha-lipoic acid, carnitine, and magnesium are also essential for mitochondrial health. Foods that support these functions include dark leafy greens, pasture-raised eggs, fatty fish, avocados, nuts, and seeds. Supporting your mitochondria is not just about having more energy. It is about slowing down the biological aging process at its core. When your mitochondria function well, your metabolism runs efficiently, your brain stays sharp, your hormones stay balanced, and your immune system becomes more resilient. The key takeaway here is this: give your mitochondria the right kind of stress, brief fasting, consistent movement, occasional cold exposure, and fuel them with the right nutrients. These actions send a clear message to your cells to stay young, adaptive, and efficient. If you are enjoying this breakdown, make sure to like the video. And if you want more tools like this, subscribing will help you stay updated every time we go deeper into the science of staying young, strong, and energized. One of the most overlooked accelerators of biological aging is chronic inflammation, a low-grade, persistent fire that burns quietly beneath the surface and gradually damages tissues, disrupts cellular repair, and throws off hormonal balance. This kind of inflammation is not the same as the short-term swelling you get from an injury, and instead, it is a silent and systemic process linked to nearly every major age disease, including cardiovascular disease, Alzheimer's disease, type 2 diabetes, and autoimmune disorders. The good news is that chronic inflammation is heavily influenced by lifestyle, and that means it can be reversed. One of the primary drivers of this inflammation is insulin resistance, which is why stabilizing your blood sugar is one of the most anti-inflammatory things you can do. Consuming meals that are high in refined carbohydrates and low in nutrients causes frequent blood sugar spikes and insulin surges, which, over time, leads to inflammation at the cellular level. Replacing those meals with nutrient-dense whole foods, such as leafy greens, cruciferous vegetables, healthy fats, and high-quality proteins, helps bring your blood sugar and insulin back into balance, reducing inflammatory signaling. Sleep deprivation is another major trigger. Even a single night of poor sleep increases inflammatory markers like C-reactive protein and interleukin-6. Getting consistent, deep sleep is one of the most powerful, natural anti-inflammatory therapies available, and it also helps regulate key hormones such as cortisol, melatonin, growth hormone, and thyroid hormone. Chronic stress also plays a massive role. When cortisol remains elevated for long periods due to emotional stress, overtraining, or poor recovery, it suppresses your immune system, breaks down muscle tissue, increases visceral fat, and disrupts reproductive hormones like estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. The result is a hormonal cascade that accelerates aging and drains your energy, mood, and mental clarity. Bringing cortisol down naturally can be done through breath work, meditation, nature exposure, or simply carving out space in your day for stillness and recovery. Supporting the liver is also key, since the liver is responsible for detoxifying used hormones and inflammatory byproducts. Bitter vegetables such as arugula, dandelion greens, and radish, along with herbs like milk thistle, help keep liver pathways clear. For hormonal balance, healthy fats are critical, particularly omega-3 fatty acids from sources like salmon, flax seeds, and walnuts. These fats serve as raw material for hormone production and also lower inflammation through specific biochemical pathways. Finally, let us not forget vitamin D. This nutrient functions more like a hormone in the body and plays a major role in immune regulation, inflammation control, and even mood stabilization. And during this proliferation, mood stabilization, spending time in the sun and supplementing with the right form of vitamin D alongside vitamin K2 can support healthy hormone and immune function. When you address inflammation and hormones together, you are targeting the core mechanisms that either accelerate or slow down aging. This is where people often start to feel the biggest difference: less brain fog, improved energy, better skin, and more emotional resilience. These systems are tightly connected, and when you optimize one, you usually support the others. If this resonates with you, consider subscribing. We are not just talking about symptoms here. We are addressing the root causes of aging with real, actionable science. Your metabolism is the system that converts food into energy, and when it functions well, you feel energetic, clear-headed, and balanced. But when your metabolic health breaks down, especially through poor blood sugar control, it becomes one of the fastest pathways to accelerated aging. What many people do not realize is that unstable blood sugar affects more than just energy crashes or weight gain. It contributes to inflammation, oxidative stress, hormonal imbalances, brain fog, and even mitochondrial dysfunction. The key is to understand how your daily choices, especially around food and movement, directly impact your metabolic system. One of the biggest factors is insulin, the hormone that helps your cells absorb glucose. Over time, a high sugar, high carbohydrate diet forces your pancreas to release more and more insulin until your cells stop responding properly. This is called insulin resistance, and it creates a damaging cycle where blood sugar stays elevated, inflammation rises, and fat accumulates around the midsection. The good news is that this can be reversed, not just managed, by changing how and when you eat. Reducing the frequency of meals, avoiding constant snacking, and using a controlled eating window, such as 12 hours of eating followed by 12 hours of fasting, gives your body time to stabilize blood sugar and lower insulin levels naturally. Also, including healthy fats and protein in every meal helps slow the absorption of glucose and keeps you fuller longer. Foods like avocado, wild-caught salmon, pastured eggs, and olive oil are ideal for supporting steady blood sugar. At the same time, regular physical activity improves insulin sensitivity by pulling glucose out of the blood and into your muscles, even without insulin. Walking after meals, resistance training, and high-intensity intervals are all excellent tools for this. Another underestimated factor is muscle mass. Muscle tissue is one of the largest glucose sinks in your body, meaning the more muscle you have, the better your blood sugar control, even when you are not exercising. In addition to food and movement, sleep and stress play critical roles. Sleep deprivation increases insulin resistance the very next day, while high stress levels raise cortisol, which interferes with insulin and encourages fat storage. Managing stress through deep breathing, sunlight exposure, and structured rest improves metabolic outcomes across the board. Certain supplements, such as chromium, berberine, magnesium, and alpha-lipoic acid, have been shown in research to support insulin sensitivity and glucose regulation, though food and lifestyle always come first. The deeper truth is that metabolic health is not just about burning calories. It is about keeping your cells clean, your energy stable, and your aging process slow and controlled. And when your metabolism is efficient, everything else starts to work better. Your brain, your hormones, your immune system, and even your emotional health. That is why focusing on blood sugar and insulin is not just for people with diabetes. It is for anyone who wants to stay sharp, strong, and biologically young. If this part of the science is connecting with you, like the video and you stay tuned, because the final piece of this anti-aging framework ties it all together through something most people overlook: sleep. When people think about slowing aging, they often focus on nutrition, exercise, and supplements, and while those are essential, there is one powerful factor that is often underestimated: sleep. Sleep is not just rest. It is a biological repair cycle that determines how well your brain, hormones, immune system, and even your skin and muscles regenerate. Without deep, consistent sleep, all of your anti-aging strategies begin to lose effectiveness. During sleep, your body shifts into a state of cellular maintenance. It produces growth hormone, balances cortisol, supports immune function, and activates the glymphatic system, the brain's cleaning process that removes metabolic waste and toxins built up during the day. Research published in Nature Neuroscience shows that during deep sleep, the cerebrospinal fluid in your brain pulses rhythmically to flush out harmful proteins, including beta amyloid, which is linked to neurodegenerative diseases. In other words, your brain physically cleans itself while you sleep, but only if you are reaching those deep stages. Poor sleep leads to increased inflammation, insulin resistance, poor memory, emotional instability, and faster breakdown of cellular structures. Even just 1 week of sleeping 5 to 6 hours per night has been shown to alter the expression of genes involved in immune regulation, oxidative stress, and metabolism. Now, here is what matters most. The quality of your sleep is determined by how you live during the day. Light exposure is a critical factor. Getting natural sunlight within the first hour of waking, especially if you go outside, helps regulate your circadian rhythm and boosts melatonin production at night. Avoiding bright screens and artificial light at least 1 hour before bed also helps signal the brain that it is time to wind down. Temperature plays a role as well. Your core body temperature needs to drop slightly to enter deep sleep, which is why a cooler bedroom, ideally between 65 and 68 degrees Fahrenheit, supports better rest. Nutrition also affects sleep quality. Caffeine, sugar, and alcohol can all interfere with your ability to reach the deeper stages of sleep. Magnesium, especially from foods like pumpkin seeds, almonds, and spinach, supports relaxation and can improve sleep depth. Behavior matters too. A consistent bedtime, a wind-down routine, and avoiding stimulating activities like news or intense conversations before bed allow your nervous system to shift into parasympathetic mode, the rest and repair state. Breathing exercises, meditation, or simply reading something calming can help set this transition in motion. If you wake up often during the night, blood sugar instability may be a factor. A small protein-based snack before bed, such as a few spoonfuls of Greek yogurt or a boiled egg, can help stabilize overnight glucose and reduce early awakenings. The bottom line is that sleep is not optional when it comes to aging. It is foundational. It is the time your body upgrades, heals, and protects itself against the wear and tear of the day. If you are doing everything else right but not sleeping well, you are still accelerating the aging process. Prioritize sleep as you would nutrition or exercise, because without it, the entire system begins to erode. If this message resonates with you, consider subscribing. The more you understand how your body works, the more power you have to slow aging and live with energy, clarity, and purpose. What we have covered today is not just a theory or a collection of tips. It is a practical framework grounded in science that allows you to take real control over how you age. We began by understanding that biological aging is not simply a countdown based on years. It is a dynamic, adaptable process driven by how your systems function at the cellular level. Each part of the body, the brain, muscles, mitochondria, hormones, metabolism, and sleep cycles, plays a critical role in either accelerating or slowing the biological clock. We explored how the brain can remain sharp and resilient by supporting neuroplasticity through movement, sleep, and nutrient-rich foods. We learned that maintaining muscle mass is essential not only for strength, but also for stabilizing blood sugar, supporting hormones, and extending life expectancy. We broke down the science of mitochondrial function and saw how targeted stressors like fasting, cold exposure, and movement can make our cells more efficient and youthful. We examined the silent damage caused by chronic inflammation and hormonal imbalances and how these can be reversed through sleep, nutrient-dense foods, and managing stress. We looked into metabolic health, learning that stabilizing blood sugar is not just about energy levels, but about protecting every major organ and slowing cellular wear and tear. And finally, we saw how sleep is far more than rest. It is the body's nightly reset, where the brain detoxifies, the body repairs, and hormones realign. These are not 6 isolated systems. They are deeply interconnected. And the beautiful thing is that when you begin to improve one area, for example, sleep, you often see improvements ripple across the others. That is the power of working with your biology instead of against it. The message is simple but powerful. Aging is not something you just have to accept. You can influence how you age, and you can do it with tools that are natural, proven, and available to you right now. You do not need extreme protocols or miracle products. You need consistency, you need awareness, and you need to support the systems your body relies on to stay youthful. If you are wondering where to start, begin with one simple shift. Choose one of the 6 areas we explored. Maybe it is walking each morning, reducing refined sugars, lifting weights twice a week, or protecting your sleep environment, and commit to that one change for the next 7 days. Track how you feel and let your own body become your feedback system. This is not about perfection. It is about direction and choosing to age with clarity, vitality, and strength. If this content spoke to you and gave you something valuable, please like the video, subscribe to the channel, and share it with someone who might benefit. We are building a community here around science, truth, and empowerment, and your presence here matters. Stay sharp, stay strong, and I will see you in the next one.